welcome to the Smoke Break Presents The Session. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Zoe Schwartz, Taylor Barrett, and Jasmine Nothing. This week we're going to have, they just faded out. Cool. All right, well this week we're going to have musical guest Laryssa Birdseye, and on top of that we're going to have Kyle Adams and Amanda Lynn Deal doing stand-up comedy. Thank you guys so much for being here. Clap it up for yourselves. Absolutely, absolutely. Real quick, shout out to Nick and Dave at the bar, as well as Ronnie for giving us drinks and doing all the stuff to keep us hydrated.
Thank you guys.
Yes, thank y'all so much. For the venue space, much appreciated. And then real quick, I just want to give a shout out to the Little Sister Foundation, who provides resources and advocacy for those who have been in situations of human trafficking and domestic violence. So give it up for them. A portion of our proceeds are going to them. So super dope. But other than that, let's get right into it. So Jasmine Nothing, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about decisions, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so any number of decisions can land us in any number of places. What does making a decision mean to you?
I think it used to mean that I got really, really anxious about every single decision that I made because there was so much pressure on it, and now I feel like I don't give a shit. Because I can like trace all the decisions I've made backwards to figure out what decisions I made that landed me here, but I have like no ability to see the future and I don't have a time machine, so I feel like it kind of just takes a lot of that pressure off, and like the next adventure is just going to happen, so you might as well spend way less. How much time do you spend like waiting to decide what you're going to watch on Netflix or whatever other streaming thing?
Yeah, that's a low blow. That was a low blow.
Yeah, more like longer doing that than I would have just watched a movie.
Right, so now I can't do that anymore, and I just am like super impulsive. I'm just like, yep, the third thing I see, that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna make, and then you can just change your mind. But I don't want to spend the like maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this forever, and I hate doing that. So now when people are like, should we do this or this? I just like decide, decide right now. What should we eat for dinner? We should eat sushi. Like, I don't want to sit there in the back and forth for 1 million years anymore, and I just want it to be fast.
No, that makes 100% sense. That makes 100% sense. I feel like with me, like making decisions, I'm always worried that the decision is bigger than it actually is, which keeps me from making a decision. Is anybody else like that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You can kind of relate. Taylor, what about you? What does decision making mean to you?
Well, I think just to kind of capitalize on the point that Jasmine was making about like being like comfortable with the impulsiveness is what's bogged me down and prevented me from making effective decisions a lot is the idea that I'm deciding to not do something else. So doing this thing means that I'm not doing this thing a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Now, what if I would have done that thing? And you kind of have to let go of the flow chart at a certain point and just accept that your decisions are based off of your experiences and your information, and so there's a level of trust that you need to have with your instincts and your information.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you said that, because you can only really make a decision based off of all the information you have.
And it's okay to be wrong, like Jasmine said. You can change your mind.
Definitely. Zoe, what about you?
Well, I like the idea that like you can look back at the decisions that you've made in your life and like see like these big pivotal moments. But I also like the idea that like when you're making a decision, you have no idea where it's gonna go. So it's like if it feels cool or feels a little scary in a good way, go for it, you know? So I like that, like yeah, these are important, but they're also not really important. And I also like lately I've been doing that. Like when something's a little bit scary, I feel like that's like a good thing. Like it's something you want.
It's like a barometer of just like, hey, that means I care about this.
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot more lately in my life, like doing scary things, just being like, that's scary. I think that's a sign that I want that, or it's something I need to like overcome.
Yeah, the level of anxiety I have about something normally is like a direct indicator of how important that thing is.
Exactly.
If I wasn't anxious about it, then like why even put like energy into thinking about it beyond this moment?
Yeah. I definitely appreciate that philosophy. So
it also helps if you feel like anxious about everything all the time.
Yeah. I don't know what that's like, so.
Yeah. So if I'm anxious about everything, that means they're all good decisions?
You care about everything!
Yeah. That could be a good thing.
Too much.
Yeah,
too many things.
It's hard to be alive.
You were talking about just kind of how our decisions kind of track and may lead us to the moment that we're at. So a small decision that I made a couple years ago is I got a job at GameStop, right? You're just like, that means nothing, right? Probably. But I actually ended up becoming best friends with the person who's doing door right now, so if I didn't become best friends with them, I wouldn't have a door person. So, right? Or a friend. Yes, I also agree with Zoe, what she said.
Discounts on video games.
Yeah, or discounts on video games.
Wow,
So
this
let's
is not
the
as
real
nice
win
as I
here.
thought it was going to be.
No, but in all truth and actuality, like the friendship that I've made with my friend Josh over here, like he helped me start the Smoke Break when this was originally live back in 2020. I made me friends with Taylor, which has helped me continue this show after all this time. He gave me the courage to try comedy again. So without making that one decision, even though it seems small, it had a huge impact. Is there any like small decisions that you feel have left like a big impact?
One of the decisions that I made was to go through Instagram and only invite people to do my show that looked cool in their pictures. And one of those pictures was Zane. And so Zane did my show a number of years ago.
Yeah.
And now Zane works for me.
Yeah. Can you believe it? Why wasn't there an applause for that? Jesus. Yeah. Now he's employed.
Tell us the name
She
of
didn't
your show.
hire me off of my picture. She just booked me for a show off of my picture. So get those headshots.
It's true.
What are the name of your show?
Yeah, tell us the name.
My show is Telltale, which is curated storytelling for people that like to get vulnerable and take no shit.
Yes.
It
yes.
happens monthly at the Chapel Theater in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah, and I very much subscribe getting vulnerable and taking no shit.
Yeah.
Well, getting vulnerable, the taking no shit. I take lots of shit.
I was gonna say.
But I mean,
It's
That
something
night,
to
though.
aspire towards.
yeah.
The night I did your show, I took no shit. The next day, maybe some shit.
Maybe some shit. Yeah. It's all circumstantial. It's about the time. What about you, Taylor? Is there any small decisions that you felt like left a big impact?
This is going to be kind of goofy, but it's had a huge impact on my life. Like 10 years ago, I was just kind of looking through documentaries on YouTube, just like fan-made documentaries. Those always seem to be the sweetest and the most wholesome. But there's one about competitive Smash Bros. And I was like, this is not what I thought it was. I started paying a lot more attention to it than I ever expected to, and I have been playing competitive fighting games for 10 years straight now.
Yeah, you're super fucking good at them.
The tournaments are very fun. So the people are absolutely bananas, but it's
Yeah.
so much fun to just go fight. You
Well,
know,
that's
it's
cool that
so
you
fun.
made that small decision that has impacted like the last 10 years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it could have easily been like a documentary you watched and you just moved on. You're like, oh, cool, that was a thing I watched.
Yeah, but I made decisions around it, and
Yeah.
I started going to tournaments and getting my ass kicked there so badly, and I had a blast doing it.
Yeah, no, that's super dope. Zoe, what about you? Small decisions, big impacts.
I don't know. I was thinking about like you inviting me to be a guest on the podcast.
That's a big decision, by the way.
No, the guest when I was just a guest. though.
Yeah, okay, fair.
That was a small decision, and then you asked me again, and then those two small decisions led to you asking me again. So that was my small decision. Was just like when I was
deciding to pick up like a podcast and be like, hey, I don't know where this is gonna go, but it could be fun.
Well, I was secretly hoping that you'd ask me to co-host eventually.
Well, it worked out. It worked out. Everybody quit. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. We're recovering slowly but surely. Yeah. So no, I definitely think that like decisions are something that like they're really hard to make. They're really scary to make, but they're the only thing that really creates progress, right? Like if you're not making a decision, then you're not moving in a direction. If you're not moving in a direction, then you're stagnant. So. For you, has there been any like big decisions that you made that might have had like a smaller impact? You know, where you're like, this is going to be huge, and there's like, you know.
For me, I'd say sometimes getting a new job, I'm like, this is gonna change everything. I'm a new person, and then I get on, I'm like, I'm the same dumbass. I'm just working with steel now. This is dumb.
My favorite thing is when I start a new job and somebody's like, the boss is such a dumbass. I'm like, are they a dumbass or are you just not good at your job? You know, I always feel like nobody said that about our job. Everyone thinks that you're amazing, Jasmine.
You're not your boss right now, but
Yeah.
Monday.
But Monday.
That's a write-up, dog.
Amanda laughed extra hard at that one.
Yeah, exactly. No, Amanda's watching me get written up. It's fine. We're gonna be okay. What about you, Zoe? Is there anything that you're just like, this is gonna change everything, and it didn't?
I don't know if I can think of a decision that didn't change everything, but I can think of a big decision that did change things.
Okay, sure. Yeah, no, I'm listening.
Yeah, I was thinking about like I signed up to go to grad school like right before the pandemic, and I several times thought like, man, what would I have been doing that whole time?
Yeah.
Probably a lot sadder. But yeah, so it was like a really weird like decision. It was a big decision, and then I was like, now the world's ending. But then I got to do something really productive while I was stuck at home for 2 years. So that's not exactly a small impact. It's a big impact.
No, that's a huge impact.
You're all learned up and educated and certified now.
Yeah.
Trying,
Badass.
Yeah, give it up for Zoe for getting her master's. What? I wouldn't be talking out of my ass if Zoe wasn't here. So thank you so much.
She's certified. We're here.
Yeah, yeah. That's our motto. She's certified. We're here. What about you, Jasmine? Is there anything that you thought was going to make a bigger impact but didn't?
No, I also could only think of things that actually did make really big impacts.
Okay, sure.
And so, I mean, the first thing that came to mind, one of them was that I was supposed to go to Australia and live there for 6 months when I was 17. I had a place to stay, I had a job lined up, everything was great, and it sounded, I really desperately wanted to get out of small town Indiana, and so everything really, really made sense to me, and instead I fell in love and was like, I'm not gonna go. And on paper, not going to Australia to live and have this completely different life experience because you fell in love when you were 17 is stupid. You should definitely do that. You should not throw away this like gigantic opportunity in that moment. But I did and fell in love. But like we got married. And now I'm still married to them, and in June we'll have been married for 20 years.
That's super cool.
That's great.
No, but I think that just kind of goes to prove that like we don't really know where our decisions are going to land us, right? Because like you can think that like one of these is the bad decision, one of these is the good decision, but you don't really know until it plays out.
Right, and not to say that your experience in Australia would have been horrible. Mine would have been because I hate bugs. That would have been miserable for me. But like you could have met someone there and had a miserable relationship, and now that your trip to Australia might have been marked by a miserable relationship instead of something like that. That's just the flow chart. You trusting your instincts on the flow chart.
It also could have been amazing.
It could have absolutely been amazing.
Completely different. And whatever it is that I did this way, and then my life went this completely different trajectory than it could have otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. So with like decision making, what do you think makes a decision hard to make?
Thinking that we have control over the outcome, probably.
Ooh, okay. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, just like basically what Jasmine was saying, is like we really don't have control over the outcome. Like we only really have control over what we're doing in the moment, right? So when you make a decision, it's kind of just like, well, I made it, and then we're gonna see what happens after that. Like.
Yeah, definitely. Taylor, what about you?
Like I said, I get so caught up in, like, when I struggle making a difficult decision or when decisions become difficult, it's because of all the different factors that I'm trying to weigh. And they like, you made the metaphor of, like, Tetris, I think a couple weeks ago on the smoke break, and, like, that's how that's how panic decisions feel for me very often, where it's like, what about this, and then this thing, and then this thing, and then it's like, you know, done, game over. And,
well,
no decisions were made, and I'm hungry.
Yeah. No, I feel like just almost the overwhelm that comes from like too many decisions. I think that is like something that I get hung up on is just like, I learned this in music, and a lot of people will say it's better to make a decision like quickly and just keep moving on with the process than it is to weigh all of the decisions that you could be making, you know? It's like, because there's a million sounds, a million different instruments, a million possibilities, so it's almost better to just make a decision, move on, and then make the next decision, because that's what helps you complete things. So,
it sounds like the trust in your decision making has helped you with, like your example made it seem like your music has benefited from your trust in your own decision making too.
Yeah, well, that's because if I didn't trust that I was trying to make something great, I would just be stuck in the thought that like I'm not good enough, I'm not good at this, and I would just spend all my time thinking about what could be, and I feel like that's just never a good use of time.
Well, I was thinking too, like when you make a decision and then you label it as a mistake, I feel like there really are no mistakes as long as you learn from something from the decision, which is like kind of a cliche thing to say, but I really believe that. So I think like in that sense, like your decisions, really all that matters is what you take from it. Like regardless of the outcome, it's like, well, what did you learn from it? Are you going to not do that again? Are you going to do that differently? Are you going to keep doing it that exact way? So
I've definitely used that philosophy in like fighting games, like the just to bring it back, the phrase that I said, if you're losing, you're learning.
Yeah.
And it's like that's can be expounded upon much better, but like I definitely relate to that.
Yeah, no, I heard a really good rap lyric where he said, "I never lose, I only win or learn," and I really appreciated that just kind of philosophy, because I think that as long as you're learning, it's not a loss if it's a lesson, you know.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Well, we're gonna take a real quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with the smoke break. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and make sure you're getting drinks, make sure you're getting food, and we will be right back.
Springtime is almost here, and part of Flowers, we hope you bloom where you decide to plant yourself. Do you have a small business, or have you been thinking about starting one? We are here to help you establish roots that lead to blossoms of success and all other dad jokes and bad metaphors. Reach out for a free 30-minute consultation to discuss your business legal needs, or branch out and attend one of our upcoming The More You Glow seminars. These are community-oriented learning events that focus on all sorts of small business and nonprofit topics. Tickets are sliding scale, $5 to $20, and you can visit our website, rationalunicorn.com, for more information. That's rationalunicorn.com. Through all the seasons, we do community business law for everyone in the community.
All right, so we're going to have a real quick storytelling session from Jasmine Nothing. So please, give them your undivided attention. Woo!
So I think in the next section we're going to talk about harm reduction, and I work in harm reduction with homeless folks, homeless young folks specifically, and have been doing that for a really, really long time, which is an important note for this story. So. The moment I sit down at the crowded bar at the only available bar stool after a tough week, this man turns to me and says, "I hope you're more friendly than the spreadsheet guy that was sitting here before." And rarely has my heart sunk so swiftly as immediately being addressed by a random man at a bar. Because no, I do not want to be more friendly than the spreadsheet man. I would like to be completely ignored while I drink this fancy beverage and do the Thursday crossword puzzle, because crossword puzzles make me feel equally stupid but also smart, and they never disappoint me. But no, this man wants to make friends. And explaining why I don't want to talk to him seems too hard, because sometimes I'm nicer than I want to be, especially with men, and so I set my phone down and decided to just lean into this experience. Fine, let's talk. He's a handsome guy that knows he's handsome, maybe 50-ish, well-kept beard. He's drinking various 5-ounce tasters of craft beer and always asks the bartender, "What should I have next?" Which is very annoying. The bartender does not care what you have next. Just pick something off the menu. So I decide to talk to this man and decide what else I'm going to judge about him next. And with this dumb inability to decide his own order, I already do not like him. What's immediately clear to me is that he loves to talk and likes that I'm saying very little, but he's still curious. He asks me a reasonable number of questions. He asks about the crossword I'm trying to do, but somehow my answer just lets him start telling me about how much he knows about fancy beer fads across the country and how they've changed over the years, but this brewery still is the best he's ever had. Typical beer bro stuff at the bar. What about natural coffee? Do you like natural coffee? I don't know what the shit natural coffee is, so I say, "I don't know what that means, man," which is just such a delight for him to hear, because he really desperately wants to tell me. So he goes on this long speech about how all coffee started in Ethiopia and how it's spread to other countries and how only a few places make natural coffee, and how he's had the best coffee in his life from Mod Cup Coffee in New Jersey, which has a limited series of beans that are exposed to dry anaerobic fermentation with the pulp still on them, mix them with wine yeast, some macerated passion fruit, and then they pulp the coffee cherries and place them on dry raised beds until the ideal moisture content is achieved, and at this moment I decided that I actually do hate this man. But here I am, and I'm going to be nice. And also, this is the only chair. He asked me what I do for a living, but I only give him the, I don't really want to talk about it short version, which is to mumble something vague about doing, social work stuff with homeless people, and tell him that actually I would not like to work anymore in general because I love my job, but working sucks, and I'd like to do nothing. And he says, yeah, he's been hearing that a lot lately, and he asked what I would do while I was doing nothing, which is actually kind of a legit question, so now I kind of like him again. I said that I would like to be abandoned in the middle of nowhere with my partner, a dog, and regular delivery of provisions so that I can just listen to records and cook food quietly until the year 2045. And he asked me if I've ever cooked with exotic foods and asked for examples, and he says durian and mangosteen, and I say those aren't actually exotic foods, they're just not common in American cooking. And he says, ugh, nothing has a simple answer anymore, and shows me pictures of his 3 cats, and now my overall judgment of him is fairly mixed, but I still wish I was trying to think of a 7-letter word for obscure instead of having this conversation at all. He's retired. He built a company, something to do with natural gas or eco-friendly power or something, and now he's retired and in town on a business trip just because it's fun to share his knowledge with small companies that can't necessarily afford it. Which I know I just said in a mocking way, but shit, maybe that's actually cool of him. Retired at 50, fuck you. But sharing his knowledge is maybe Brad, so now maybe he's kind of all right. Why can't he order for himself? I don't understand. He shows me the pictures of the cats again. My partner behind the bar is talking to the other bartender, making bets about whether they need to rescue me from this guy, and overheard this man ask me if I've ever had a particular type of chicken, and I say, we've already covered that I'm vegetarian, but I guess I'm still going to listen to you. And so he talks at length about how proud he is of absolutely perfecting the recipes that matter most to him, which is actually kind of admirable, but then he goes in depth about the details of cooking a rack of lamb, and now I hate him again. He suddenly says, I'm tired of all these new movies and shows that are just shitting on rich people, and now I'm skeptical. And he starts listing them, but he can't figure out which one he wanted to talk about by name, and I tell him to think about it while I pee, but in the bathroom I place the movie and I run back out to hit the bar in front of him and proclaim the movie he was trying to think of rightfully as Triangle of Sadness. And he asked me what I think of the movie, and I said, there was a lot of vomit in it, and he says the thing about being tired of things that shit on rich people again, so I said, well, I'm actually pretty into things that shit on rich people. And he orders another beer from the bartender, another, excuse me, what should I order next moment? And I think back to when I was 21 and would order drinks by color, like bring me something red, now something blue. And with that memory, I kind of hate myself instead. He says, I wish everyone had the chance to be who they really wanted to be. Why can't people do that more? And I say, I don't know, because poverty and capitalism and greed are trying to kill all of us, or at least keep us too tired to do anything about it. And he says, ugh, I've slept on this floor before, I might have to do it again. And I tell him he's right, that it's all pretty fragile, and we nod and throw back our last sips, and I don't really know what I think about this guy now. He says, you should really try that coffee, though, and he leans over with his phone, and before I know it, I type my address in, so he sends me the $30 bag of coffee, macerated with passion fruit, and I cross my fingers that he will not use my address to murder me in the future, but it is free coffee, so at the moment I like him. But at this point, he goes to the bathroom, and I go outside to take a work call, and there's a cold wind, and I didn't bring my jacket, and there's really only one call I take outside of work hours, which is a call to tell me that someone's dead. Each call starts with the signifier, I have capital S, sad news, and then there's this gaping silence usually where I know it's somebody but not who, and my brain guesses, and sometimes I'm right, and sometimes I'm wrong, and this time I'm neither because I just stand in the cold wind and refuse to guess. And then she tells me who it is, and then it's a slow motion step-by-step thing where I feel sad, and then I think of all the pragmatic steps that come next. The death notification log, and in what order to tell people, memorial planning. And the thing is, if I don't move forward with pragmatic steps, I might just get really hung up on the idea of never seeing this kid's face again. And to be clear, this kid was awful, actually. He said horrific things. He would wash his feet in the hand washing sink. He would wait till 1 minute until closing and then panic and just steal anything that wasn't nailed down, running in circles with handfuls of toothbrushes and condoms he had no intention of using, flying around like confetti. He would scream at you to give him something that you didn't have and then refuse to leave the building even after you were closed until you gave it to him. He'd use the worst hate speech, couldn't ever remember that me and my coworker are actually different people, and he would do impressions that were horrifyingly problematic. He'd be in the middle of saying the absolute worst stuff, like a torrent of awful words it seemed like he couldn't stop himself from saying, and then someone would knock on the office door and he'd grin at me and say, watch, I can actually turn it off whenever I want. And then he'd be 100% charming to the person that walks in the door. He was awful and offensive and impossible, and I truly adored him. And later that week, I ended up going to his funeral where his family will read shockingly terrible poetry about him, and I know you aren't supposed to speak badly as someone's reading at a funeral, but it's really, really bad. And it's infuriating because drugs break my heart all the time, and I also fiercely defend people's right to use them, hopefully safely, but either way, I'm very tired. And this beautiful, dumb city breaks my heart too, so then my heart is just a broken, heavy thing that I carry around sometimes. But see, that's why I have to stop and think of the pragmatic next steps. I can't be thinking like this on a Wednesday at 8 p.m. So I get off the call and I go back inside to sit at the bar with this man who's apparently named Robert. And the thing is, I don't want to think about how sad I am right now. I don't want to entertain all the nasty little thoughts my brain is trying to push into me. I also don't want to be nice anymore. So I sit back down with this fucking Robert guy, and he says he loves living in New York. And by the way, I've played basketball with Woody Harrelson. He's a really nice guy. And then there's a story about eating chicken with Lauren Bacall. He talks about being on a plane that had to land on the honeymoon capital of Portugal, a small island you aren't supposed to be able to fly directly to, and being stranded there for 4 days while they got a new plane and learning that they'd had to land because there had been a fire in the cockpit, which is supposed to be universally fatal, but they'd managed to land instead, at which point he ate the best chicken of his life, which included almonds. A lot of his stories somehow involved really good chicken recipes, and the bad thoughts are still creeping at the edges of even now. So my partner slides a whiskey down the bar into my hand, and I turn to Robert and say, Robert, you seem like a man with a lot of money. I think you should give some of it to the place I work. And he says, okay, and takes my business card, and I say, oh no, I meant now. And he's like, oh, okay. And then pushes a bunch of buttons, and maybe he did, and maybe he didn't, I don't know. But I like feeling a little mean and pushy, but to balance it out, because I actually did kind of want to know, I said, okay, well, have you ever seen a flamingo in real life? And we're right back on track. He tells me about all the times he's been to Botswana, where you can see the world's biggest flamingo migration, and also a Pell's fishing owl, which is rare and endangered. He talks about hoping to buy a house in Portugal one day, although Zambia was good too. He talks about the quality of bread in Europe, and how if you really know what you're doing, you would never buy a baguette there. Those are just for tourists. And I don't know, is he the worst? How do you measure? I don't know. I really went back and forth a lot. But soon after this, I say, Robert, you have to pay your tab now, because I would like to go home, and nobody can leave until you pay them. And he looks around like he's just noticed the passage of time. He pockets my business card and says he'll be in touch, but who knows if he will. He might still be the worst, I don't know. But I did get that bag of coffee from him a little bit ago, and I'm not gonna lie, it smells really good. And later that night, when me and my dumb broken heart couldn't sleep, I messaged the development department at work and asked him to check, and he totally fucking donated $250 under my name. That kid I love is still dead, and I think that man could have afforded like a lot more. And my heart is still a heavy dumb thing to carry around, but maybe this guy wasn't the worst. Maybe he was just lonely and had a head full of fancy beer and one last night in a heartbreaking city, and wanted to share things he knew with someone smart enough to do the Thursday crossword puzzle, or like at least most of the way.
Make some noise for Jasmine Nothing. Make some noise. So first off, I want to thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, that was really great. So you mentioned working in harm reduction.
Yes.
So not a lot of folks know what that means. Do you want to go ahead and fill us in with your definition?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes in two different directions. I think one, it's kind of like the direct application. So like you could say that a syringe exchange, where somebody is able to like exchange a used needle for a clean one, is harm reduction. That's kind of like the standard that comes up. But I think a lot of things actually fall into the category of harm reduction. So that's going to include things like if you are going to maybe like self-harm. Self-harm is better than dying. So one of those is going to be more harmful than the other. Dead people don't get to make different decisions anymore. And then, you know, have like condoms. Condoms are like a safer thing to do than not a condom. It is still running a risk, but it is a different level of risk. So there's kind of like the, it's not abstinence-based. Harm reduction is this other like way of thinking about how you work with people. But additionally, it's kind of like a social movement where we just actually say that like you are the expert on your own body and brain, and then we would like you to make your own decisions. And so somebody is allowed to use drugs, and the idea is not to make them stop, because making people do things doesn't work out so hot anyways. And so really like respecting the autonomy of people to be able to do what they want to do, and to be able to still be part of things. So they should still be part of community. People should still be able to make like weigh in on like legislature and laws that like impact them the most. They should be involved in all of those things too.
Something I heard kind of working with you is nothing about us without us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
People should be involved in things in fact then.
Yeah, absolutely. Zoe, as far as like harm reduction, what have you come across in your line of work? Like,
Well, I mean, I used to work at New Avenue, or I used to work at like a different shop.
In a place,
sorry. But yeah, like I've worked with similar communities, so yeah, but I think like I was talking to Jasmine about earlier, like I learned about it from the like the idea of like safe injection sites. Like I think that was the first time I learned about harm reduction. But I agree, I just think that it creates a space for people to be able to do what they need to do to cope with whatever they're going through, and then also to have space to either maybe move to a different coping mechanism that has like less impact, or if not, just exist and still have access to all the other things they need in life, like just not cutting people off from society or from access to jobs or voting or whatever, just because they have a certain way of coping that we don't agree with or that we don't understand, you know? So I think it just really, it exemplifies the way that I like to really think about everybody's life. Like, we don't know why they're doing what they're doing, but we can assume that everyone's doing the best they can.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
And most people use drugs.
Yes, that's
We've just
true.
decided that some drugs are acceptable and some aren't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very true.
So you can like smoke weed and be fine in some places. You can be like a yoga wine mom and wear your drug use on a t-shirt all the time. But if you like use meth once, that's a hard drug and it's dirty, and then like Can you be a really good mom and drink wine every evening after work?
Absolutely.
Yes, I can.
Can you,
Amazing mom, Jane.
can you use
Thank
meth
you.
at home with your kid in the house?
I mean, you can
There's
physically.
but there's less murmurs. People had like you felt yourself like, ugh, like there was worry, right? Because we think about each substance really, really differently, and the different like stigma that is attached to it, and things that are stigmatized also comes with shame. And you know what people who feel a lot of shame do? Fucking get high again because they don't want to feel shameful.
Yeah.
Like it's like just like this. It's really cyclical, and shame has never helped anybody stop doing anything.
Yeah, well, hey, I appreciate the advocacy that you do.
Absolutely.
Give it up for Jasmine Nothing. We will be right back with our musical guest. Thank you folks so much for hanging out for this smoke break. We're on Shady Pines Radio every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m.
Patches, come here, boy. I love Patches, and that's why I love Patch Dog.
Hey, Dad, were you calling me?
No, I was calling the dog Patches. Oh, not you, honey. Patch Dog makes custom iron-on embroidery patches. I can give them my design, and in a couple weeks, I've got custom patches. They can be my daughter Patches, my son Patches Jr., or even my dog Patches. Yes, Dad. No, that's Patches, my wife. I'm just making a commercial, and because Patch Dog loves you so much, use the code SPR10 for a 10% discount. And you know they've got that free domestic shipping. For more information, check out patch.dog and fall in love with patches like me.
Yes, dear.
No, I'm making a commercial for Patch Dog.
I have an extra microphone here. I have 2 flavors now, motherfucker.
2 flavors. So Taylor, I wanted to ask you a little bit about harm reduction. How has that like affected you in your life?
Well, it was really confusing for me for a long time. Like, I did not understand what that meant until, like, I don't remember why this made it click, but seeing that people in rehab got to smoke cigarettes because they're not fucking doing heroin, like that's where I was like, that makes sense. I get what harm reduction is now.
Yeah.
No, cigarettes aren't fucking good for you, but like they have an addictive personality, they have that tick, they want something, their body's craving something. Let them smoke a cigarette.
Let them smoke a cigarette. And that's why we have the smoke break, is because
Yeah.
I'm not smoking meth anymore,
But damn, you need a cigarette.
damn do I need a cigarette. But while I do go smoke that cigarette, we are going to have our amazing musical guest, Laryssa Birdseye. Please give it up for her.
How's everyone doing? I just went to Portugal, so I was like I was really stoked, and I was like, what fucking island is that? Portugal's lovely, but that guy sounds terrible. Yeah, it's really good to be back. I picked up a sinus, I don't know if you pick up a sinus infection. I'm not sure how diseases work. I should know better since we all went through the fucking pandemic, but I can't hear out of my right ear, so it's been 6 days of that. So if you guys will be able to hear better than what the fuck I'm doing. I'm gonna play this song. This song is called Shame, and I don't know if you've ever like been really. I feel like love can be an addiction, you know, where you just keep doing the same shit over and over and over again, expecting a different result, and the song is about doing that. I'm so fucking tired of the ways in which I feel so thrown away. I cannot stand the things you say, I mean it. Or should I say you suck, 'cause boy, I treat you like you're dead. You cut a hole inside my head and I can't stop the bleeding. You could make or break me, look at what you made me. What if I followed you all of the way down? Guess I was mistaken, couple more years wasted. All that's left to say is, what a fucking shame, shame, shame. Honey, isn't it a shame? lot of freedom in your schedule. There can be a lot of freedom in your schedule. For me, I choose to not have any freedom in my schedule, and I just work all the fucking time, and I make excuses why I can't do anything for myself or like take time for my fucking brain. And in the last year, I just was like so miserable, so miserable. So I forced myself, and I know I'm very like, you know, I have kids, no one depends on me. I feel like I've made that very clear. I'm like, you can't depend on me. No one depends on me. Like, I reserve the right to fuck off for 10 days to 14 days every now and then. So I went to Portugal, and I feel like I just killed my ego in a way. Like, it wasn't even brought on by like hallucinogens. I feel like that's a very popular way to do it. But I feel like when you kick yourself out to like the other side of the world and you just realize that like you don't matter. You're like just a tiny little thing in a sea of other things. Like, we're so inconsequential, and because of that, like we are so consequential. We matter so much. So like what we choose to do, I feel like I am just spitballing here, but I wrote a couple songs about what it feels like to be going through something like that. So I wrote this song. It's called Lisbon. All right, we'll figure it out. If I fuck up, you guys have to forgive me. I made a deal with the devil didn't come through. Spent my best years sitting in a waiting room. I never heard my name, thought there was some mistake. I thought that I would change it, so I didn't move. Cursed God in the city made of cobblestone. Spat blood through my teeth and stumbled home. Seems everything I've buried resurrects and finds me. What I've tried to kill is wrapped itself around my throat. It's not funny, but I'm laughing. No, I never thought it happened. If your purpose was your poison, would you spit it out or choke? I've been fighting with my nature. Thought they loved me, but they hate me. When I see me in the mirror, I see somebody that I don't know. And God, it's nice to breathe again. Raise the flag and pack it in. No one wants a war in this economy. We're going broke. Tear my expectations down. Shave my head and break the crown. Drink until I'm sick and raise a glass to everyone I've known. It's not funny, but it kind of is. To build something then ruin it. It's beautiful and human to burn cities just because you can. Not asking, I'm admitting. Not the hero, not the villain. Just a girl who loves something until she crushed it in between her hands. Oh. Thank you so much. I wrote that on piano, so that was an experience for me. I feel like being an artist in any capacity feels a little bit like the worst thing you could do to yourself. Because, you know, if we could all just fucking vibe and we all had our base needs covered, oh my God, we would be so creative. We would just, like the way that we are as children, where we just build shit out of sand and Legos and all of that, and someone is just like, you're incredible. You know, like when we get that reinforcement, we're like, I am incredible. But then you like graduate and you have to make money, and like when you make art, it's like everyone is such a piece of shit when it comes to judging other people's art, especially with social media. It's like, I swear to God, it's just like, this isn't for me. me and let me tell you exactly why you suck, you know? It's just like it's an absolutely miserable thing, and especially when I feel like you've been gifted something, you know, like how nice it is to have a purpose, you know, and we follow it and we're like, I could do something with this, and then you do it for like 10 years, and it's brutal, and you just never get anywhere, and you're like, why the fuck, like I'm not a religious person, but I'm like, why the fuck did you do this? This is like a sick joke, you know, to like love something so much and just suck so much at getting it off the fucking ground. So I wrote this song. This is kind of funny, but before I left for Portugal, I'm in a better mood, sinus infection aside, but I had a moment. I took a walk as soon as it got sunny. This was like a month ago. I took a walk. I had my dog with me, and I walked to the park. I kind of like got pulled to the park. I laid down in the grass and I just like looked up at the sky, and I was just like, I just literally said it out loud. I was like, I feel so alone. And this squirrel in this tree starts going fucking nuts, and my dog's going nuts at the squirrel, and I'm looking at the squirrel, and the squirrel's looking at me, and it's just like, you know, screaming. And I'm looking at the squirrel, and I'm just like, what if the squirrel is like a sign? You know, as I said, I feel so alone. Maybe this squirrel is just looking at me and like, hey, Laryssa, you're not alone. And then I realized as I'm looking at the squirrel, and I'm thinking like, this is God in squirrel form. I'm like, I've lost my fucking mind. Like, I feel like this is exactly how Joan of Arc, you know, this is like how this happened. And then I just like, this song slammed into me, and I was like, so I sprinted home. It was even crazier. You know, I'm talking to the squirrel, and then I get hit with this song. I sprint home and I wrote it. The song is called Joan of Arc.
People stare when I talk to myself in public. I don't care what they say, I'm the first to admit that something's wrong. I don't belong here anymore. I guess that I wore out my welcome. You could put me back up on the funeral pyre. I found God in the smoke of the fire that I started. We don't talk anymore, it doesn't stop me from trying. I've fallen out of favor, what's a girl to do? I'll bring the fucking army, how's that work for you? I'm on my Joan of Arc shit, sick bitch, screaming at the sky like an answer. This wish, gotta fucking want something different. I think I'm starting to lose my mind. Pretty please prescribe me something for the voices. Is it divinity or just all my choices? Is it my megalomania? How could it be that God exists and somehow she listens to me? I've been trying, I've been fighting, I've been down and out. I've been beaten, I've been buried, I've been freaking out. I've been trying, I've been fighting, but I'm burning down. I'm burning down. I'm on my Joan of Arc shit, sick bitch, screaming at the sky like an answer. This wish, gotta fucking want something different. I think I'm starting to lose my mind. Yeah. I've been trying, I've been fighting, I've been down and out. I've been beaten, I've been buried, I've been freaking out. I've been trying, I've been fighting, but I'm burning down. I'm burning down. I'm on my Joan of Arc shit, sick bitch, screaming at the sky to get answer. This bitch gotta fucking want something different. Honest, I'm starting to lose my mind. I'm on my Joan of Arc shit, sick bitch, staring at the sky like an answer. This wish gotta fucking want something different. I think I'm starting to lose my mind. I'm starting to lose my mind.
Alright, thank you. I'm good with I'm done with the music part.
All right, make some noise for Laryssa Birdseye. Hello, you. Yep, we're gonna hang out for a second. Let me help you with that. Teamwork, teamwork. There's a mic in there. Okay, cool. We'll come back for it.
Do we need this one? Do we need the blueberry mic?
Yeah, the blueberry mic for the blueberry artist.
I'm gonna hand this to you and then not walk that way.
Excellent. And you turned it on and I almost turned it off. Look
am,
at that.
I
It's
am
almost
on
like
my
we
blue.
planned it that way. One more time for Laryssa Birdseye.
You match. I love it. For real. Like, even down to the scrunchie.
Oh yeah.
All the way down to the scrunchie.
That was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, your music is extremely vulnerable, and just the way you come across and your stage presence on stage is extremely vulnerable. How long did it take you to get there?
Man, it's weird because I feel like I have always been very honest on stage, and it's like, I don't know, for me there's like a protective bubble here, and I can do anything and I can say anything, but I feel like in my personal life, I'm like I'm running out the fucking door. I don't know. I don't know when I talk about my shit, you know.
Yeah.
But it's easier. It's so much easier for me to like talk to everyone than talk to someone individually.
Yeah, no, I
know?
can definitely relate to that. I feel like all the things that I can't say like to people in my life are things that I try to put into my music.
Yeah.
Do you similarly feel that way?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's how it started when I started writing songs. I started writing songs because I started writing really shitty poetry, and then,
that's how it
like, in
starts.
high school, and then I realized I could put it. It's funny. I like used to read a lot of confessional poetry, so like Anne Sexton and Sylvia Plath, which makes a lot of fucking sense. But I remember I was like, I was a weird kid, so I like took the guitar and I would like read a lot of the poems, and I would sing their poetry.
Yeah.
And then,
That's cool stuff.
It's really cool, yeah. But then I feel like I figured out like how things fit, and then I just started writing my own stuff. And I think songwriting and writing in general is just a process of uncovering what you actually have to say, which is cool. You know, there's a lot of pressure to like pop by a certain age, which is ironic because I don't think that you have any fucking thing to say. Typically, most of us don't have shit to say until we're older. You know, like
Sorry, young people.
All you young whippersnappers out there. 26.
No,
I'll shut the
I mean,
fuck up.
like you definitely have things to say. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm not
I
making fun of you.
had things to say when I was younger too, like, but it was just where I was at. I think that everyone. I think unfortunately we live in a place and a time in a society that is just so ageist and like discards people as they age, and I think it's insane. Like I think they're like, why do we do that?
Well, it's like I feel like when I turned 30, I was just like, my life's over. It's game over. Yeah, and everyone just got super offended real quick. But I feel like there is that, you know, like, but you should have this done by this age. You should have this done by this age. You should have this done by this age.
Just the pressure of just like schooling and success and career.
You know what? You know what that is? It's like people want to keep you here and working.
Yeah.
It's fucking propaganda. You can literally fuck off to anywhere else and just disappear and like make it. You can probably.
No matter what age you are, you're fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think
if you're desperate
that.
to fill that, then that's all you're gonna be thinking about. You're like, I have to do this because this is what I have to do. And
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
you nothing.
What about you, Taylor? You're the youngest one up here. I know. Called out.
Fuck you. Get out.
Yeah.
Sorry. Come back when you have something to say.
Even though your opinion doesn't matter, what's your opinion?
I don't know. I just watch cartoons all day.
Yeah, I figured that's
if
what
you
it
have a
was.
juice box, you can hook me up with it.
Dude loves
Big
his apple
nap
juice. Do you think that like you have that pressure of just like I should have this done by this age? I should have more done now because somebody who is fucking 17 did it already.
Definitely, I definitely feel the pressure of like seeing people that are younger than me being better at me than the things that I want to be good at, particularly with like music or just any pursuit that gets really stressful, and then I have to remember that like if I did that, then I'm making somebody else feel that way. You know what I mean? There has to be a level of just like running your own race. That's a line from Bluey because I have a 2-year-old daughter and I watch a lot of Bluey and it's fucking great. You all should watch Bluey. I'm just saying. But running your own race is a really important concept that I learned from that show, and it's not comparing yourself to anybody else. There's everybody has reasons to maybe be better or worse at it than you, and running your own race is really important.
Yeah, running your own race, but also like why the fuck do we have to all end up in we all think that success or that we're only valuable if we reach a certain thing, but it takes away so much of the joy of it. And I feel like that is, at this point, I'm just like, I cannot measure my accomplishments according to anyone else's, like I feel like the worst thing you hear as a musician or a creative, like when they hear you and they're like, wow, you should be famous. And it's like, oh no, because it's like, wait, what's wrong with you? How are you fucking this up?
You're talented, isn't that enough? No, you have to know right people.
You should go on American Idol. I'm like, I did, it sucks. It's fucking awful. But it's like if the worst thing that happens is you spend your life in the pursuit of something that lights you up and that you love, and the worst thing that happens is no one ever fucking finds out about it. Did you live a good life?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're living in the thing that you love. You know, even if it's not as socially rewarding as you might have assumed right away. You know,
you didn't fail. So what? Like if you didn't make millions of dollars.
A lot of people didn't make millions of dollars.
One failure is really subjective too. Like what would define failure?
That's what I keep telling my parents. No, they're very supportive.
I'm gonna call my dad real quick.
Zoe, just out of curiosity, what do you feel about like the idea that you should have a certain amount done by now?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think like I do it with comedy too, because I'm like, well, you know, like I wish I would have started earlier. Like I wish I would have had the courage to start earlier. And then I'll see people that start younger, and I'm like, oh man. And now it's like I have all these other like grown-up responsibilities, and I like got a career, boring, you know. And I see all these young people, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have started then. But I'm like, you know what, like. It's like what you were saying. I'm really trying to like lean into like this is my journey, and like there's not like a what's that finite amount of success that we're all working for. Like everybody can create what success looks like for them, and I also think it's like really important, like you said, to like find a way to relate to your art that's about you and not about what other people decide it means. Like because otherwise it's not. Like you said, it takes away from what it is for us, but it's tricky though because we're performers, so it's like. People care, and you have to, so it's, but it's like a balance, but it's really important to have your own, like, intrinsic value from what you're doing.
I definitely, struggled to answer that at first, too, but I think where I'm at is, like, finding what my thing looks like. Like, I'm 26, and so it's hard for me to be like,
boo.
Well, I know, I'm sorry for the fourth time.
Change your diaper?
But you're also a parent, so you're like,
you're like way more mature than me.
Yeah,
I can't even tell you.
I'm 32, but as soon as you said you had a 2-year-old, I'm like,
tell us your ways.
I'm like, no, you have seniority here. You actually.
If 40 years ago you would have told me I'd be in charge of feeding, clothing another human being, I'd tell you to go away. I'd be like, this is.
I would tell you it would probably be me, honestly. Thank you, Taylor. Takes good care of me.
I have made you dinner a couple times.
Yeah.
The pot stickers the other night, those were fucking good, dude.
That was good.
That's cute, you guys.
Yeah. We make food for each other. He makes food for me. It's not important details.
I hang out with parents for that reason as well. I don't really know how to take care of myself.
So, would you say that like the performance, the world of like performing, would you say that they work with our mental illness, or would you say that they're like, you said you'd be here for this day, you didn't say you'd be sad on it?
As far as like people that hire you?
Yeah, like it's just the music industry or maybe like comedy. Nope, they don't.
I mean, maybe if you get to a certain level, like I feel like if you get to a certain level and people are like, okay, well, I guess there were red M&Ms in her trailer, so she won't work for 2 weeks. I am so excited for that. I'm going to be everyone's problem.
Yeah.
Just create like random rules.
That's what I'm working for. I just want to be an absolute monster.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I want to be red M&M famous.
No, I mean, I would say you got to keep your shit together relatively. Just like with any other normal job, like it's hard to. Unfortunately, I feel like mental health is still. People will be like, I'm so sorry, but you are fired. Like it's kind of it's difficult. We work in like a very fast-paced place, and I think honestly this country is not. It is not. There is not a lot of room for fucking up, And like, unfortunately, if your brain is the reason why you're unable to, because I've been there. I've fucked depression, anxiety, you name it. Like I deal with it. I struggle with it, and it's
the
hard.
artist curse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like this conversation of like neurotypical and neurodivergent, like we're all fucking weird, you know? Like we're all weird and our brains are
We
fucked.
can all
and,
applaud
like,
for being fucking weird, right? We showed up to a mental health podcast on the nicest day, alright?
You know, let's go inside and talk about our feelings.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that just because I think that it's not saying that one of us is struggling more, it's saying that we're all struggling, so there should be kind of like these concessions made for like, hey, I'm having a rough day. Like,
And the competitiveness between the two sides, like it seems like there's like a demand for understanding from the neurodivergent side, and there seems like a demand for more effort or something from the neurotypical side. And like it doesn't need to be a competition. I have a lot of respect for people that can wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work for 12 hours, but that might not be somebody that's struggling with anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I will say I don't think that the music industry or creative fields are necessarily like the best for people with mental health issues. Unfortunately,
no.
we all it's ironic because we're all fucking sad and a little crazy, and we end up in these places which are like very. It's really grating, because it's like this weird high school that you're like constantly trying to make something happen. You're trying to be cool, and just like everywhere you go, they're like, no, you're not fucking cool.
You're the person who farted in class that one time.
Wait, who are you again? No, you're not
You're
invited
fart
to this
guy.
party. Yeah, so it's like you're constantly putting yourself out there. You're constantly getting rejected. It's so difficult to not have it woven into your identity in some way after a long time of being rejected. It's so hard to still answer for yourself and still say, no, I'm worthy and I fucking like what I'm doing. I feel like I lost that. I was really losing that recently, and I don't know, maybe I'm jet lagged and I have a sinus infection, but I feel like something has shifted recently where I'm like, absolutely not. These are not my ideas. These do not come from me. I reject them, get them out of my brain, and I'm just gonna keep creating and I'm gonna keep doing it. And the people that fuck with me will fuck with me, and that's okay. The people that don't understand what I'm doing, like I'm not gonna change it based on like what I think people will like, because that's how you lose yourself. That's how you stop enjoying your fucking time. Like I don't want to be like well loved and like accepted and adored by everyone. I just want to I want to just like myself.
Yeah. And at the very least, liked by the right people. Like, I find myself wanting to be liked by people I don't like. Is anybody else? Anybody raise a show of hands? Who wants to be liked by people they don't like? Okay. Too many of us, but we're not alone, so.
Anxious paradox.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like no. Like you're my fucking enemy.
Yeah,
now.
well, you have the shift. You have the paradigm shift. We're all working on getting there.
You just gotta spit in their face to show them who's boss.
Wow. Life hacks with Laryssa Birdseye. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with the smoke break.
Cheers to you, my friends. You're listening to Shady Pines Radio. My name is Nate. And each Friday at 9 a.m., I bring you a call. All things Northwest and tour bands. Only on Shady Pines Radio. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, so coming to the stage, good friend of mine, good friend of the show. Please make it real loud right now for Kyle Adams.
How are we doing, everybody? All right, give it up for all the performers you've seen so far, everyone. Yeah, give it up for Zane and Zoe and everyone doing this. This is awesome. This is way too early. I'm a vampire. I am a comedian. This is like basically doing a show at 6 a.m., Zane. Why are you doing this to me? I don't wake up until the sun goes down. Oh, it's gonna be bad. No, I'm feeling pretty good. Coming out of quarantine, I've lost 70 pounds since 2020, which is awesome. I put back on 30, but I've lost 70 pounds since 2020, which is awesome. I basically, all my friends got fat and I got skinnier. I just met them in the middle. I was like, we're all the same now. It's great. No, I think I nailed the look I'm going for, and that's Hagrid's community college years. Wait. Look like I'm raising dragons in my GPA at the same time. That's what I'm doing. Now, I definitely reached a new milestone with my weight loss because my niece no longer draws me fat in all of her pictures. I look like a person in her pictures now. Yeah, you know kids are mean. Kids are mean and honest, and that's a terrible combination. They're just like, fuck you, you're fat. You didn't know that? Like, I look like a person in her pictures now. I used to just be shapes. Just a bunch of big circles, and for some reason my head was a rectangle. I asked her, why is my head a rectangle? She's like, you really need to get your life together, Kyle. No, kids are mean, man. I want you guys to make some noise real quick for the true heroes of America, substitute teachers, everybody. That's right, substitute teachers. Also, make some noise if you gave shit to substitute teachers when you were growing up. Exactly, yeah. You felt bad for them. Dude, I did too. I felt bad for them, especially the ones who had silly last names. Why would they do that to themselves? Are they masochistic? They know kids are terrible. Like, I felt bad for one substitute teacher we had. His name was Mr. Christmas. He was a ginger Mr. Christmas. Bright red hair, pale skin, smelled like holly. Mr. Christmas got made fun of by my drama class. Yeah. It's like, you know how dorky you have to be to turn the prey into predators? It's like, my dude, you're getting made fun of by people who say perchance and huzzah. In earnest, they mean it when they say it. Where are my theater kids at? We got theater kids? Yeah, I fucking knew it. We can sense each other out. Theater kids can sense each other out the same way that people who are high on acid at a party can sense each other out. Just no eye contact and a lot of improv games, right? I mean, honestly, acid, when you take acid, you were just yes-anding the universe. That is all like, all right, let's just fucking roll with it. We were talking about neurodivergency earlier. Everyone in my generation and everyone below us, we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out, are we on the autism spectrum, are we on the ADHD spectrum? We're spending a lot of money, we're spending way too much time on TikTok, and we're trying to diagnose ourselves. I think the easiest way to do that, though, and the quickest way to do that, is you sit yourself down with Star Wars and Star Trek. That's how you figure it out. If you lean more towards Star Wars, you're ADHD. And I'm sorry if this is news for you, but if you lean more towards Star Trek, you're autistic. But you probably know this already because you've organized all of the tapes. No, I don't know. Dude, I watched Star Trek for this joke. My ADHD does not allow me to watch Star Trek, and I force myself to watch. Dude, Star Trek, they literally tell you what they're doing and then explain why they're doing it, and then they do it. That is 100% to the T. It just makes so much sense. And then you think about how Star Wars is told as a story. Star Wars is told the same way an ADHD person will tell you a story. They start in the middle. Takes them a really long time to remember the beginning. And then by the end of it, you're like, why the fuck did I listen to all of this? Didn't mean anything. I did that joke online. It actually, it's really weird. It blew up on TikTok, and now I have, 4,500 autistic ADHD fans online, which is interesting. I mean, they're my people. I'm not saying they're not, but it's just interesting to find my people online. And everyone asks, what is Stargate? Does anyone even, okay. I mean, okay. No, they're like, what does Stargate make me? I'm like, I don't fucking know, dude. I had to literally break down what Stargate was. It's literally someone opening a portal somewhere else. So I was saying, if you lean towards Stargate, you are a introverted extrovert who doesn't have the energy to go places. Stargate. All right, so we found a diagnosis. See, that's funny, because someone was being shitty about the joke online. They're like, you should have done a Stargate joke instead. And I'm like, that would have worked with one guy. And it did. It totally did. You see, that's for that one person. Oh, goodness. Let's get vulnerable. We're all getting vulnerable up here. I am very, I admire that you guys have been getting vulnerable up here. It's a little early for that for me, but we're gonna try. I lost my virginity in an above-ground pool in Florida to the Daredevil soundtrack. And that is a sentence that just gets sadder and sadder and sadder as it goes along. But that is the story about how I became a man. So, also the lady stole the soundtrack afterwards. You guys remember soundtracks? Remember when someone could steal music from you? Like, that sounds so old. Like, it sounds like an ancient part. They stole my music. Dude, that's when I realized I had a thing for bullies. I'm into bullies, I think. That's what it was. I had some bullies growing up. Make some noise if you were bullied. I'm sure all of us. I feel like Portland is a city founded by people who were bullied. And I know this for a fact because we have so many amazing food options here in Portland. Yeah, we finally have lunch money. It's great. Nobody beat us up. We're going to have Dolma for lunch because we have money finally. I think the Portland city slogan should be, not in the face, please. I had a bully. He's a terrible person, but he had an amazing bully name. His was his real name. He didn't have like a stage name while he was bullying. Call me Trigger. No, his real given name, I assume, his name was Dallas Slaughter. Yeah, dude, fantastic bully name, right? Like, there's not a lot of options when you're born with that name. You're either a bully, you're the front man for a death metal band, or you're a porn star who does strictly anal. And that Dallas Slaughter is a mother of three. That is, that name goes either way. It really does. I have a fun story about Dallas. It starts off fun. Stick with me here. My mom died when I was in middle school. Starts off fun. And they told everybody. They told everybody in my class. They like sat everyone down. It's like, circle time, Kyle's mommy died. I got ambushed by all this like fake sympathy. It was insane. Like I had people that barely talked to me were like giving me hugs and stuff, and I was just like still reeling from the tragedy of everything. And as this is happening, I have a bunch of people surrounding me. My bully, Dallas, comes up. He's making a beeline towards me, and I'm like, fuck, I lost my mom, and now I'm gonna get a purple nurple. This is awful. Like, can this week get any worse? And he comes in, and he hugs me, which is really uncomfortable. Like, I'm in therapy now, but I don't know how many sessions it's gonna take to wipe that clean. Like, he grabbed me tightly. He was so close to me that I could smell what he had for lunch that day. It was my lunch. He had taken it from me earlier. And he leans in real close. He pulls away from the hug. He has his hand on my cheek. He looks me in the eyes and he says, Kyle, I'm so sorry that you lost your mom, but I need you to know you have something right here that you'll never get rid of. Your big titties. Which will come in handy because it sounds like you're the lady of the house now, Kyle. P.S. I'm gonna miss your mom's cooking. I love how people are horrified by that. He's a fucking bully. I don't know what you were expecting. All right, we're getting vulnerable. Let's talk about some other shit. So, my roommate died 7 years ago now. 7 years ago, my roommate died, and I found his body. This is funny, I swear. It's funny. My roommate died in the middle of the night. I found his body. They say that that comedy is tragedy plus timing. They say that's the way that they break down comedy, tragedy plus timing. But here's the thing: my timing was always off because I paid rent early that month, and he took care of the bills. So it was like I was staying in a haunted house until the lights went out. That's what basically ended up happening. He was the first person I ever did acid with, so I'm not entirely certain he ever truly existed at all. The jury's still out on that one. His family was worried about my mental health after this happened. They said that I should probably talk to somebody about this. So thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. Big help. No, he was a cool dude. But weird situation. Like I'm sure you guys have had shitty roommates before that have left messes. But That dude weighed 300 pounds. No, I didn't have to clean it up. No, it was I don't know if you've ever been in that situation. I hope you don't have to be in that situation. But when that situation happens, your apartment turns into the saddest version of Benny Hill ever. It's just like, it's firefighters, it's paramedics, it's cops, and then eventually coroners, and you can literally hear the music in slow motion. The and the cops are obviously useless. Cops were totally useless in that situation. All right, let's veer back to something a little happier for a second. So I grew up in Florida. That's what that deserves. I appreciate that. It seems like you guys have the internet and you've seen what they've been up to over there. I got out of Florida is the best way to say it. Thank you. One of the nicest things an audience ever said to me, they said, you don't look like you're from Florida. And I was like, thank you. Can we get that in writing, please? I don't know if you get this, but I've been trying my absolute best to cosplay like a Pacific Northwesterner. Yep. And there's a few things about being a Floridian that like separates you from other people. Like there's some things about us, like we can't hide our identity as much as we would like to. Like I can't go into a 7-Eleven anymore with friends because I can't ignore a new Mountain Dew flavor. It turns out I can't just walk past Major Melon. I have to enlist. Also, when you grow up in Florida, you're surrounded by sociopaths. And I don't know if it's where they make sociopaths, but it's definitely where they do their best work, right? Like if you want to be someone who doesn't blink and owns a boat, the Sunshine State is the state for you. That is where you belong. You can jet ski and cocaine at the same time. I don't know what they do down there. Florida is built for attractive people with money, and I am fat and broke, and that's why I got flushed out of there like a turd. My grandfather was probably one of the biggest sociopaths I ever met. I know, you're gonna laugh at that. No, it's fucking true. I mean, people laugh at that. They're like, yeah, my grandpa took me fishing. My grandpa haunts my nightmares. Awful person. So my grandpa, it's a bulgy-eyed redneck. He kind of looked like if a goldfish was raised in a bowl of Coors Light. I assume that's what he looked like. He was a racist, he was a homophobe, he was a sexist. Or old-fashioned, as he called it. Just old-fashioned. Good old-fashioned American. He's a bad dude. I'm glad he's dead. Like, honestly, I'm glad he's dead. Yeah, dude, fuck yeah. I wish he would have lived a little bit longer, though, so I could have introduced him to a non-binary person. Just watch his brain melt down like a wet robot. He'd be like, they're doing what? Which is ironic because he got their pronouns right on the first try. I don't know how he managed to do that. It's pretty woke for a dead guy from the South. All right. You guys have been a lot of fun. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Make some noise for Kyle Adams! The blue mic for old Kyle.
Hell yeah, Kyle, that was great.
Yes, thank you so much. So you talked a little bit about death. Yeah, let's talk about grief. No pause. Okay, it's fine. Yeah, it's definitely, I actually just got back from a celebration of life. What are your thoughts on celebrations?
I mean, like a celebration.
I want the funny answer and the real answer.
Like a celebration as in a wake celebration, like
yes.
a death. Okay, so I like those. We actually had one of those for my mom.
Okay.
When my mom passed away, it was everyone wore purple because that was her favorite color.
Now I feel bad for taking the mic.
Yeah. No, you took my fucking favorite color. It's the only thing I have left is that color, Zane. We had like a celebration of life. It was cool. There's like music. It felt like a party, and she was a chill lady. Like she wouldn't want all the somber stuff. Like she made jokes about dying all the time. She like I didn't get into the dead mom jokes here today because the sun is still up. But because that would be just wrong. But no, I do have bits about it, and I always tell people. I try and prep people. I'm like, if she was in the front row, she would be laughing her ass off at this stuff because she is where I get my dark sense of humor from.
Yeah. So how do you think having a dark sense of humor has helped you cope with grief?
It makes a lot of people uncomfortable, which is fun. But no, it weeds out the squares, which is cool. It weeds, and it's funny because the people who come up to me afterwards and they're like, I really enjoyed that joke. They're like, my mom or my dad passed away, and it's cool that it reaches people like that. But the people who haven't dealt with it yet, they're like, why the fuck would you tell me about this?
Yeah.
Like why would you bring this up?
Yeah.
I walked 8 people on a show in Beaverton. They loved me for 40 minutes. Then 5 minutes was just dead mom stuff. And then they said, that's inappropriate. And they walked out and I said, that's comedy. And the rest of the audience cheered for me. But
there you go.
They were kind of Republican, so
can't win them all. And if you could, would you want to?
It's weird how you align yourself. Like I'm freedom of speech, but not to be shitty, just to talk about my dead mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we did the show in Burns, I had like some cop jokes, and after like 3, I was like, maybe not here.
Oh man.
Small towns don't like cop jokes. They like cops.
Yeah, they like cops. A lot.
Yeah.
So what about you, Zoe? How do you think like humor ties into maybe like some of the heavier stuff for you?
I mean, I think it's definitely like a coping mechanism. I mean, they always say that like people develop like a sense of humor often to cope with like the rough shit that you deal with. So I would like to think that I just naturally have it. But yeah, I think it just helps you deal with the really hard shit in life, and also like a lot of the really hard shit in life is funny. It is.
Yeah,
like,
if you can get to that point, comedy plus timing, like you said.
I feel like with me, a lot of it is it's loosening my grips of control of the universe because I lost such a major player in the game.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about the game anymore. I'm like, whee! Like, you know what I mean? There's something very liberating about that, being able to be like, I don't ever want to hurt anybody or do anything wrong, but I don't give a fuck about a lot of stuff. Like, and it's so easy to be indifferent and just kind of float beyond stuff when you're like, when you lose something that crucial, like a parent at that young of an age, you're just like, I'm not going to sweat the small stuff quite as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And I don't know, there's something cool about that.
Yeah, well, I think like, just gaining that perspective because like I was in a car accident, semi-recently, and that was like one of those wake-up calls of just like, it could have ended here. Like this show right here could have not been. And the fact that it is here means that I have to make the most of it,
Your
so
car was
like,
fucked up too. I'm surprised you walked out of the car.
Yeah, I moonwalked out of the car.
Did it explode behind you in slow motion?
Yeah, absolutely.
An explosion.
That's where his hair went. It got burned
Yeah,
up.
I used to have an afro, if you can believe it. But no, I just remember like sitting upside down in that car and just really, being like, I should turn off the Punisher.
Did you realize the true meaning of family after that?
Yeah, honestly.
Fake Weasel over here?
Yeah. Well, that's why I shaved off the hair. I was just like, I think I could pull off an A shirt.
I'm glad you're here. And it's those things where there's such thing as survivor's guilt, of course, like when something like that happens, like you lose somebody and then you feel bad that you're still here, but there's also the survivor's like, woo! But you feel like there's more significance in the world when you have that almost like yanked away from you. So
Yeah, when life is that fragile, experiencing it is that much more fulfilling.
Yeah. Taylor, what's been your experience with grief?
The only really family member that I've had die has been my great-grandparents, and that was when I was really
Lucky.
young. Yeah.
Mine is here.
The ones that are
Privilege
supposed
over
to
here.
die.
Okay, let me elaborate. The dog died.
Like goldfish.
A lot of my grief has come from like accepting that relationships are ending, not like
That's tough though. That's tough grief as well.
Because they're like people that I built my life around. They're people that I started a band with. They're people that I was like planning, like the really young, we're gonna have a house together, we're all gonna party all the time, that shit. And you have through just the maturity of being like, I don't really want that. Your values start to change. And if mine changed at a different pace than theirs did, then I really watched me kind of outgrow that and have to like let go of the person that I thought they were, let go of the person that I thought I was, let go of the goals that I thought I actually wanted, and that recontextualization of how I'm viewing things was just strange. I had to let go of a lot. It's a different type of grief. It's obviously not death.
Yeah.
But it's
well, you can't. Honestly, I'm joking around. You can't quantify grief.
Oh, no,
you really can't big dick in grief. Oh yeah.
How recently though?
Olympics.
I like the best of grief, okay?
I think I've grieved so many versions of myself, so I relate to that very hard. That there's different versions of me who I thought I wanted to be, who I was trying to be for other people. There was a Floridian version of me that had a goatee. There was.
It's all of a moment of silence for the goatee.
That guy's gone.
I need to see a picture. I need to see a picture of that, Kyle, please.
It's gone with my Facebook. They got hacked.
No, well, I appreciate that, that you brought that up, Taylor, because it's like, there are different things that you grieve, like relationships, because like what you believe something was, what you found out that it actually is, what you having to go on and continue, because I feel like that's the hardest part with grief is just like, I'm still here. What do I do now?
And I think the most difficult experience with that specifically was my family. After, we had plenty of bullshit when I was growing up, but I hit a point where I was like, I'm an adult now, I can relate with them, they can relate with me a little better, and even me extending the hand then a little bit, I had to let go that was possible to the way that I wanted it to. I had to let go that there was the possibility to reconnect with my family in a way that would be healthy for me at all, and that was a huge, hard pill to swallow.
That's another thing, like grieving roles that you take on.
Yeah, that's a good
you
point.
feel like you're not fulfilling certain roles as a friend or as a brother or sister, whatever.
Performer, sure, absolutely. No, I definitely agree with that. So, I feel like you're our expert on grief. Can I say that?
Do we want to go over the list?
Yeah.
We can go over the list.
Let's do it.
All right. My grandmother had dementia when I was in third grade, diagnosed with dementia. It was so debilitating. It was dementia and Parkinson's at the same time. I got to watch that happen. So I got to see someone lose their mind and not know who they were anymore by the time I was in 10 years old.
Yeah.
And then that was the first major death I dealt with, and it was weird because I felt everyone else's relief when she died.
Yeah.
Because people were like, she's not her anymore. It was a really complex emotion.
Yeah, that was very confusing especially for a 10-year-old, where like you would immediately associate grief with sadness with death, and then there's a sense of relief that came with it. That would be very confusing.
Well, I think that's an interesting perspective too, though, because I think death is like relief for some people, depending on the situation.
Well, you'd rather have them not suffer than. Like, she was like, I don't want to get too much. I know that, like, we'll bring her upward, but it was rough. And then my mom died 3 years later, so like not even get like a real break from it. After that, I had a friend, one of my best friends in high school, got shot. Right before I graduated. I had a couple of friends die from Oxycontin in Florida, and then. I had my roommate passed away, like I was talking about on stage, which at that point, it was really hard and it was really sad, but I just, like at one point when I was able to process it, I just started laughing at how often this was happening to me. And I'm like, what did I do? Like, what did I, I was like, I almost at a point was like, don't get too close to me.
Did you walk under a ladder?
Might be the Grim Reaper.
You start wearing a cloak.
So I did dress up as the Grim Reaper for Halloween. And I don't know, I mean,
that is exactly how sense of humor is.
I demanded my mom held my hand, and she saw that worked out for me.
So real quick before we wrap it up, what would you say would be like a good tip on how to like process grief?
Process it in any fucking way you can, as long as you're not hurting yourself or others, and don't let people put a timetable on you. I am just now letting go of some of the, because I wasn't super nice to my mom, around the time she died, we had a very strained relationship. I was 13 years old, I was an asshole, I was a little shit, and I held on to that for such a long time, and I'm just now letting go of some of that. So it's gonna take a long time, and definitely be kind and patient with yourself with it, because people are not going to understand, and no one has a window into your head, into like what you're going through and how you're dealing with it. But I would say just give yourself time, give yourself patience, meditate on it, definitely, and have a sense of humor about something. If you can find silly things about it, there's silly things about everything, and that you can really flip the script and turn the power against something that's like that terribly sad, if you can find something funny about it.
Well, that's a good point too, that it is. It's like taking the power back when you make a joke about something that hurt you. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kyle. But make some noise right now for Kyle Adams. Nice stuttering. But right now, welcoming to the stage, I would like to welcome one of my favorite comics and an old host of the Smoke Break. Please make some noise right now for Amanda Lynn Diaz! There she is.
Hell yeah. Keep it going for Zane and Zoe and Taylor, your hosts today. Hell yeah. Keep it going for Philip on the sound. Make some noise. And holy shit, please make all the noise and give all the love to Ronnie and Dave at Haymaker right now. Fucking clap. Give them all your money. They're amazing. Oh my god, I got my hair cut recently. But this is like a standard issue Portland haircut. When you move here, they ask you, what side do you want your mullet on? That's the first question they ask. Are you a top? Are you a bottom? Do you lean to the left? Lean to the right? All mullet questions, turns out. All right. I think that's so funny. Just me. Great. Before I got my hair cut, I got a perm, and I was really stoked about that. I got the perm because nobody stopped me. Yeah. Your friends can't talk you out of shit if you don't fucking tell them what you're doing. So that's what I do. When I first got my hair permed, it was like shoulder length. I was so stoked about it. I was like, ooh, you got like Alana from Broad City energy. Hell yeah, bitch. You guys fuck with Broad City? Yeah. Nice. Alana, that's my favorite. I got the titties for it. I was super stoked about that. Yeah, I just slapped my own tit if anyone's listening at home. That's what the physical comedy was. And then I pinned my hair back after I got it permed, and I was like, ooh, Lucille Ball, look at you, bitch. That's two of my comedy idols right there. Check, check. Feeling pretty good about the hair, you know? And then I dyed it red. Someone said I looked like Annie. I don't think I have little orphan Annie energy, you know? That's not me. But I looked in the mirror the other day. I think I know exactly what kind of vibe I'm giving off with this haircut. Kind of look like Willy Wonka at the end of the movie. You know? You lose the gazer! That's my vibe. It's my fucking vibe. You guys are fun. Oh, hell yeah. I'm super excited. I'm actually gonna go test drive a car after this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, I'm super stoked. I haven't had a car since June. Not the one you're thinking of, the one before that. It'll be 2 years this fucking June. That's how long it's been. I got in a car accident. And that wasn't my first accident. I was in an accident with Zane in our car together, and it was my fault completely. I was turning left, and I T-boned a Prius. It was very scary. I didn't see him there. And I got out of the car. I was crying. And the man got out of his Prius with the long silver ponytail. It wasn't Portland. I feel like I don't need to say that, though. So he comes out of his Prius, hair flowing. He gives me a hug. Because he saw I had progressives. He's like, I'm gonna get a new Prius. He was stoked about that. Flo's my bitch, all right? I'm all about progressive. Clap it up if you have progressive up in here, huh? Yeah, progressive insurance, get it. I fucking love progressive. That accident was horrible, but we all came out of it okay. They wrote me a check like a week later. Yeah, progressive was on top of it. They're like, here you go, fix your car. I was like, nope, rent and drugs. So I spent that money on. Just had a shitty looking car that drove for a while. And then my most recent accident, the one 2 years ago, this one was not my fault. But I was getting a little cocky on the road. I was like, progressive's been good to me, but I feel like I need to save some money. Anyone have Geico in here? Anyone? Good. It's worth it to pay 15% more to not get fucked in the ass by a lizard, okay? Let me tell you what happened, alright? I was driving my fucking car, minding my own fucking business. I got rear-ended by a semi-truck. Yeah, it was terrifying. It was super awful. And I called Geico, and I was like, oh my god, I just got in a car accident. And they were like, were you driving your car? Yeah, and then a semi-truck hit me, and they're like, oh, it's kind of a liability driving that car around, you know? Kind of your fault, don't you think? I was like, what the fuck do I pay you for? Fuck Geico, dude. I hate Geico. I got a lawyer. My lawyer's name is Steve. He told me to stop talking about this. And I'm like, this is all I have, Steve! So I'm gonna talk about it, right? Steve was like, this is what you gotta do. You gotta pit Geico and Travelers against each other, right? The best insurance wins. And I was like, cool, Steve. Just a quick question. What if neither of them give a fuck about you? What do you do then, Steve? What do you do if you're just getting Eiffel Towered by 2 insurance companies? What do you do then, yeah? It'd be super hot if I was into it, but it's a trucker and a lizard. Grossest threesome you could ever imagine. Fucking sick. super excited to fucking test drive this car, baby. Oh man, I'm gonna be unleashed. I'm excited. Oh man. A lot of things are going better in my life, which I'm very excited about. It's been a long time coming. To the point where I feel like it was kind of my fault. My life was fucked up for so long. They're like, my life sucks. And then you're like, oh, I think it's me. I think I'm the one fucking up my whole life, for sure. Yeah, I took a break from drinking. If you guys are drinking today, have some fucking fun. I have some amazing drinks here. Have a shot of tequila for me. Hell yeah, baby. Do it. Support the haymaker. Get a shot of tequila for me. Do it for me. Then while you're at it, just text your Coke dealer in an hour. For me. Do it for me. Maybe don't party how I do, you know? I was a very responsible drinker when I was drinking though, okay? Never drink and drive. I didn't have a car, so yeah, hell yeah. No, if I'm being honest with you guys, all jokes aside, the real reason I had to quit drinking is because my friends couldn't keep up and they looked like fucking losers. Did it for them, embarrassing for them. No, it was for sure me, I was the problem. Yeah, dude, but I'm not like 100% sober now. I'm not a dork. We all need a vice, you know? Mine is marijuana. I fucking love marijuana. Actually, my favorite drugs is 3 M's of drugs. Marijuana, mushrooms, Molly. Those are my favorite. Love that shit. I need weed, though. Weed's not necessarily just for me. It's for everyone else in my life. Because I'm a woman, my baseline is rage all the fucking time, you know? I got on the bus, didn't smoke any weed, almost punched a guy in the face for looking at me, you know? But if I was stoned, we would have been friends. So the weed is for the community. It's for everybody. But I grew up really religious and sheltered, so I was always taught that marijuana is the gateway drug. Did you guys hear that shit growing up? Yeah, watch out, it's the gateway drug. You're gonna smoke weed, you're gonna do all the drugs. Bullshit. Fucking bullshit. I've never done that. I think alcohol is the gateway drug, if I'm being honest. Especially for me, bitch. Because I have never been stoned on my couch at 2 a.m. about to pass out and then texted my Coke dealer. Not once! Not fucking once on marijuana. And then 30 minutes later texted him back like, wait, can you turn around? I want Molly too. Not once on marijuana. Every time I drink though, so watch out. I wish I could be chill, man. I wish I could have a drink on this beautiful day and be chill. But I don't drink to unwind, okay? I drink to unravel! Yeah, bro, it's a lot. Yeah, things are going pretty well in my life. I'm very happy about that. I met someone that I'm in love. Yeah, it's great. Well, he is a straight white dude, so oops. I don't even like those. I'm in love with one. Gross! What the fuck, you know? It's really fucking up my brand. Yeah. But he's great. I love him a lot. But he still says some dumb shit sometimes, you know. He can't help it. It's his man brain. You know, he's doing his best. The other day he asked me, he was like, hey, do you, like, name your dildos and give them personalities and stuff? I was like, what? He's like, you know, like you can name a... I was like, no, yeah, no, you know what? You're so pretty. I like to tell men they're pretty when they're being fucking stupid. They don't get it. They're like, thanks! So, my pretty boyfriend asked me that stupid fucking question. And I was like, no, I don't give them names and personalities. The worst thing about men are their names and personalities. I already got the dick, why would I fuck it up, you know? He's so pretty. No, he's super great. But it was really strange meeting him and going on a first date because I've only ever been in like bad, toxic, not good relationship. I've always dated people like me. Let me just say that, you know, like artists or losers or whatever. People who don't have a car, but they're gonna make it, babe. People like that, you know. So I've just been painting, you know, red flags green my whole life, you know, everything's fine. Then I saw a real green flag in the wild, and I was like, what's your angle? You know, I can't fucking trust that, suspicious. You picked me up on our first date, I went to every shitty car in the parking lot, very confidently. I was like, this is your car, right? Oh, I'm so sorry, it's this one, right? The 4-door car with 2 doors left, that's your fucking car, right? He's like, no, it's this one. I was like, ooh, you got us a lift. I don't drive either. Nice, you know? Thinking we're bonding, I just like poor and stupid. That was his real car. So we went on a date. It was super magical. The stars aligned. We got to like sneak into a concert. It was one of those just like, what? Like movie dates. It was so fucking cool. He paid for everything on that date and did not expect any sex. Hell yeah. which was super hot, so I fucked him. I was like, "Ooh, you're just a nice boy. I'm gonna suck that dick." Obviously, that's a joke. Relax. It was the first date. I'm a fucking lady, all right? Didn't suck his dick. Didn't even fuck him. He wanted to go down on me, and I'm a lady, so I obliged. And I was like, "All you can eat, bitch. Get in there." Which is a great life hack, by the way. If you're bringing home a straight dude and you got a pussy, have him go down on you first. It's a great way to tell how things are gonna go. Because if he can make you come like that, bitch, you are good to go. But if he can't make you come like that, bitch, you're good to go. Put your panties on, get the fuck out. It's not gonna get any better, I promise. And I feel like this needs to be said. I don't think a lot of straight dudes know how to eat pussy. I don't know if no one told you or if you're just doing what men do, which is doing something very confidently and wrong your whole life. I think that might be it. So I'll let you know. You know that like really awkward. Oh, by the way, this is only for the straight men. Everyone else is doing fine. I checked. I did research. It's just the straight dudes for this joke. You know that really awkward, like slobbery first kiss in middle school? Too much tongue, too much. Yeah. Do that here. What the fuck? So tired of men down there pecking my pussy lips. Like, did you know her? French kiss. What are we doing? So he's doing a great job down there, and all of a sudden I start to panic because we're in his house, right? I was like, oh my god, we're in a house. You know, and I've only dated people who like live in an apartment together, you know, a bunch of artists. You know, 4 dudes, 1 towel. What the fuck is that shit, by the way? A bunch of crusty men in this city. So we're in his house, and I'm like, oh my god, your parents are gonna come home and ruin the move. Because of course he lives with his parents, he's in his 30s. You can't just have a house. Nope, that would be a green flag, And he was like, I don't live with my parents. I was like, what? Your mom doesn't live here? Why is it so clean? Where are the bodies? Serial killer, right? For sure. No fucking way. No, he's just a clean man. I don't know, man. I'm trying to find some red flags on this dude. I'm being honest with you guys right now. I'm like, what is it? You got a secret family? You're not telling me about? I'm looking for these red flags. I'm gonna find one. I think his biggest red flag is just being a man, I'll be honest. He can't help that. He's doing great, though. I love him so much. And the longer this relationship has been going, the better it's been going, and the happier I've been, the more I'm still trying to find these fucking red flags. And starting to realize, oh, fuck. I'm the red flag in this relationship. Yeah, it was me the whole time. That sucks, dude. But it's true, I gotta be honest. There's a lot of things about me. Red flag. I'm a full-time comedian. That's one. Do you know what that means, full-time comedian? I bartend 2 days a week. Yeah, I'm super poor, bro. I got a hole in my tooth. I fill it with bacon now, you know? Make the poverty taste better. That's what I'm up to. Also, I lived with my mom for a while in my 30s, but she kicked me out because I had a bit of a cocaine problem. Why do you pull back on that? This happened to her specifically. Y'all cool. Y'all got judgy. Me and my mom are cool now, though, by the way. She went on the road with me, and she saw me do that joke. And I did it on purpose to be like, hey, Ma, I know why you kicked me out. Don't worry, big deal. Fucking idiot comedian, you know? It's just me saying sorry on a stage. Fucking coward, right? And she came up to me after that. I'll never forget. She looked at me, and she goes, sweetie, if I knew you were doing blow, I would have asked you to share. What? I don't know why she kicked me out. I'm not going to ask any questions. I want her to love me, so we're all good. All good. Hell yeah. Things are going well with my boyfriend, though. They're moving fast, but they're going well. His mom loves me, which is wild, because, she hasn't seen me do stand-up. I think I'm very different. Off stage, you guys are like, oh, what a sweet girl. On stage, you're like, Jesus Christ. That's a loud broad, you know? Very different vibe. She made dinner for us, this dish called Marry Me Chicken. Have you guys heard of that? Yeah, I was like, oh, not even being subtle, Marry Me Chicken, okay. You know, she cooked that shit, and I was very excited. I tried it, it was amazing, and I'm gonna be honest, that shit worked. I am engaged, that's real, I'm engaged. And things are moving very fast, but he's being really cool about it, considering I'm about to be his new stepmom. I'll marry his mama. You didn't make that chicken? Fuck off. I feel like I do have that vibe, though. You're like, yeah, you look like someone that would date a dude to steal his mom, and you're correct. You guys are so cool. I'm excited to talk with my friends. Thank you so much.
Make some noise for Oh yeah. And make sure Kyle gets his phone back. Hey, there it is.
real quick, we wanted to mention there is merch over there. We got sweatshirts and hoodies, lots of sizes.
Yes.
Take your pick.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I totally forgot to mention that. But
3 times.
Yeah, 3 times. He was like showing me messages like merch, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll get to it. And then he had to announce it. So yeah, merch over there.
The wrong side.
I love you saying
I was gesturing. Amanda Lynn Deal. Let's talk about judgments. Taylor.
How good I am at it.
So yeah, let's talk about judgments. I feel like there's something that we do almost subconsciously. You know, some of us do it consciously, but it's almost impossible not to do it subconsciously sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you feel like judgments kind of fit into your life?
Whenever you're doing something vulnerable, it's always like you want people to like you. You don't want to feel judged. It can be very scary putting yourself out there. But then a lot of times you end up trying to like be for everybody, and you don't have to be for everybody. And I like to write jokes about the times that it wasn't for everybody, because then it makes it funny again. So like even if you're not everyone's cup of tea, there's like you can make an observation of why you aren't and why that's like okay with you and that's funny, or part of who you are, and that's okay.
That self-awareness is hard to like not admire on a set. So it's like even if you might have lost people with the first joke, you acknowledging that you lost people is like they're like, okay, all right, she gets it, she's cool.
Yeah. No, I feel like just being aware of judgments is the thing that kind of helps you get past them, because if you pretend like they're not there, like they're going to be there regardless. But if you pretend like you don't care, then they're going to be there regardless, but you won't care.
Yeah, and I think it's important too to realize that like if you walk into a room and you feel anxious that people are judging you, it's really just you judging yourself. So you're like thinking of all the reasons why people wouldn't like you, and you're dwelling on that. I mean, like I'm fucking hairy. You can see my armpits. You can see them on the podcast actually.
Yeah.
That's how hairy they are. But I used to be really self-conscious. Like people were, so I would feel weird about my body, and then I would just assume everyone else did, instead of just being like, this is just a human body. It has hair. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of judge yourself when you walk into those situations because you think people are judging you, but it's really you like picking out all the reasons why someone might like you. And it's like, man, if you just like embrace who you are, you also find yourself not really judging other people who are also just being themselves. You're like, hell yeah. You don't have to like agree with, like maybe their style or their taste in music or whatever, but you can still just appreciate that someone loves that thing and that's who they are, and like no one can make them feel bad. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have a time where you feel like you try to like avoid judgment and kind of like work your personality into a box or anything? I can really think something like that.
Jobs. Just jobs.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Well, with like serving and bartending, there's like the Barbie voice, like, hi, my name's Amanda, are you taking care of you? And I don't sound like that. So
You don't? Oh my
no.
goodness. Okay.
You guys heard me. Not a lady, I'm a broad. But bartending was something where like you can be more of your personality, and I think that like people do kind of want you to. Like people want you to be real with them. It feels creepy when you walk into a place and everyone's like, hi. Like I worked at a place like that, and people had to greet people when you walked in the door, and as a customer, I was like, ew, this place sucks. Like,
Amanda used to work at Chick-fil-A.
They changed it to Broadway. I'm not a chick. I'm a broad.
I can't even. No, it's all over. We're done now.
No,
No more puns.
I do agree though, like when you go shopping and they're like, can I help you? Can I help you? I'm like, no, because you're giving me a fucking panic attack. I'm just trying to shop.
Yeah.
They're like, did you come in here with a specific idea of exactly what you wanted? No, I didn't, because I'm not a monster. That's what weird.
I would have shopped online if I could have done that.
Yeah. I think it makes me anxious when people are too nice, I think, sometimes.
What about you, Zoe? What about judgments? How do you feel like they place in your life? Do you feel like you put some on yourself? Do you feel
All
like...
of it, yeah, I do all of it. Something I was thinking about is like I am kind of like I kind of like to pride myself on being like a little bit of a hater, like in a like in a fun way.
In a fun way.
Yeah, and like, but I also feel like it's like a thin line, because it's like I feel like sometimes I'm judgmental, and then it just makes you feel shitty, because then you're like, well, if I'm judging them, then they're probably judging me, right? So I think like when you find yourself being judgmental, it's often like then you get more self-conscious because you're like, well, I'm a dick, so everybody else is probably a dick too.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of a philosophy a lot of people have. Is just like they're like they think that if you're if you're afraid of being judged, it's because that's what you're doing, and it's like I don't think that that's always the case. I think that like. Because I'm afraid of being judged, but I don't judge anybody.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Except yourself, maybe, Zayden.
Oh, damn. Oh, shit. That kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, you're judging you. You might be judging other people, but you assume people don't like you because you're scared. You're picking on yourself.
You're validating the reasons that you think people might have to not like you.
Yeah. All right. Well, this became a gang up on fucking Zane
I was
session.
just gonna say that you're very like.
We're giving him
him way too much credit. Like, Zane doesn't judge anybody.
Yeah. Well, I try not to. I try not to just because I don't want to be judged. That's the biggest reason why I try not to judge. But it's self-centered. I still make it about me.
You guys is because he makes him feel better.
Yeah. Because I'm afraid you'll be mean to me. But I feel like judgments are something that, like, I don't know, like in the past it's something that I've been like really aware of, something that I've been really self-conscious of, but it's something I'm trying to get away from. What would you say kind of helps you get away from judgments, Taylor, like, or the fear of them?
So for me, there's a lot of times where I have to really define what a judgment versus an observation is. And that gets really difficult, especially when I have struggled with my tone of voice. Me talking analytically has come off as me sounding like an absolute asshole before.
It does.
Can confirm.
Not judging.
That felt like a judgment.
Okay.
Was it an observation? I don't know anymore.
Was it an observation? That is the question.
But I'm just observing.
It's hard to distinguish too, because I think there's ways that you can preface it. Like, hey, I'm not being judgmental, but I did notice this thing, and then also that openness to say, hey, I'm not being judgmental, but I noticed this, and then that being met with the idea that you don't know everything. That like there might be you might be doing it quietly to yourself because you're just trying to practice this one line. You might be doing it alone. Like there's a million different reasons why it might not have ended up that way. So giving an observation and then asking questions is usually a good way to distinguish the two for me. But it gets blurry very often. I think that the admittance that you might have been judgmental is really important for everyone to kind of reflect on, especially with the person who's willing to tell you.
Yeah, definitely.
That made me think about like if you do come to somebody with something that like you felt was a judgment, like there's a way to talk about it where it's like you're not assuming that, you know, like kind of like, hey, this is how, that's like the whole I statement thing, like this is how this made me feel, like just want you to know, and then it's kind of like more in that way, it's more like giving them the opportunity to be like, oh yeah, maybe that judgment wasn't, you know, or like to give them space to realize that maybe you're not being judged in the way that you think you're being judged too.
Amanda, what about you? How do you think that you get past like people's judgments or just worrying about something like that?
I mean, it's tough. I think it depends on the day. Some days I think we all are more fragile, and if someone just says one thing a little bit mean or true, you're like, fuck you! So I think it does depend on the day, but I think it's important to remember that I think it's important to remember that, you know, everyone is going to be different and there's no way that everyone can be for everyone. So if people make a judgment about you, you could end up being friends. That happens sometimes. You're like, wow, we both didn't think we'd ever be friends. Now we are. But if someone is just set on who they think you are and they're not giving you a chance to be yourself, you don't need someone like that in your life. So I think that we can all have a judgment on someone, maybe like a snap judgment or a subconscious judgment. But once you get to know someone, you have to give them the space to kind of be who they are. And so I don't know, if people don't like you and they've decided that you are a certain way, even if you're fucking not, fuck them.
Life advice with Amanda Landio.
Yeah, you can't please everyone. You be yourself. If they like you, great. If they don't, move on, bitch. There's so many fucking people in the world.
And it weeds out the people that you wouldn't connect with very well. If you're saying stuff that's profoundly you, and people are like, nope, not for me, then you're like, cool, not for me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Well, I think that you can kind of get past those judgments when you realize that, like, you can't be for everybody, and even if you could, like, do you really want to be for everybody?
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people, and once again, I do not like most people. Maybe I'm more judgy than I think. Okay. All right, we left it there. It was an important realization I had on stage, unfortunately. But I'm sorry, I'm like processing that right now, and I'm just like, I really don't like most people, but I do. I try to find the good in everybody.
And I would say respect them. You accept and respect them while acknowledging your own personal interaction with them.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like just because you don't like somebody or they're not your, or you know, somebody's not your cup of tea. Like I try to be like, okay, like that person isn't my cup of tea, but they're still totally fine existing in the way that they exist.
Yeah.
And I think like that's the thing that's like the difference. Like when I feel judged by somebody and they're like, you're a problem, and it's like, why don't you just leave me the fuck alone and go hang out with people you do like for real.
And I like to conceptualize, like, if this person isn't my cup of tea, I like to conceptualize, like, what would their cup, like, what's their best environment? What are they thriving in? And if what they're thriving in, what I can see them being successful and happy and joyous in is like super not for me, then I'm like, all right, yeah, maybe that's not the person. But if there's a lot of different elements and variables to like every group, and you can have vastly different people.
Well, I mean, I kind of like what you said. Like somebody had said to me, because I constantly obsess. I'm like, people are thinking horrible things about me constantly, and a friend had been like, being well-adjusted in a toxic society is not a sign of success. And I was like, yo, that's fucking like, why? Yeah, for real. That made me process all over again.
That means you're not paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think being well-adjusted to capitalism just means that like I do. Yeah, honestly. So it's like I really try to understand that like the times that I am for somebody and the times that I'm not for somebody are both for a reason. So I think that's incredibly important.
Mm-hmm.
So when you find yourself judging people, what's the thing you try to do to like catch yourself, or do you catch yourself?
You have to be more mindful of this stuff. I think that we're all just gonna run on autopilot and not be our best selves if we don't check our shit. And especially with like not drinking anymore, I still have that addict brain, but I have to like recognize which one's, calling the shots, pun intended. But yeah, be like, okay, that's a thought. You know,
in the middle of it.
How do the puns feel, Zane?
I'm just gonna be look at my armpits. And we'll be even.
We switched bodies. The weirdest Freaky Friday.
I'm black?
Don't say it.
Oh my god.
Just as you can.
I forgot the question.
That's fine. I derailed it.
You sure did.
But yeah, what about you, Taylor? Like when you find yourself being judgmental, what do you do to try to like catch yourself?
Just be honest about it. Like, at least to myself, that I'm not gonna be like, hey, random person here, by the way, I was judging you, but just to be like, hey, that was kind of judgmental. Maybe I'm being a little bit of a dick. How can I separate the judgment to observation? Maybe I'm seeing this thing happening and interpreting it as malice or intent, when they could have just been making a joke. Like, that could have been the first joke they made all day. They weren't really conscious, they weren't really awake, and I was just on the butt end of it, and that shit happens.
Yeah, well, I think like the important part is just like having understanding that like you don't know the whole story.
Yes.
I think that like
you never have all the information.
You never have all the information. So yeah, I think it's really important to kind of like look at the information you have and then understand that like, yes, I made this judgment with this information, but like what other judgment could I have made with that information?
Mm-hmm.
So
what about when you judge someone and then you realize it's because it's something you don't like about yourself?
Yeah.
Oh God, let's not even talk about that.
No, you do have to. You do have to be aware of that. Same thing with being aware of like if you're judging someone right away. I used to hate karaoke. I'd make fun of people who do karaoke. I was like a bunch of dorks. It was so stupid because I can't sing and I wish I could. And even those people might not be able to, but they're having the time of their fucking life. So I would be like, look at that loser. But I wouldn't do it because I was scared of being judged. But I'm judging them. Yeah. So you have to be careful.
Well, I think that is like kind of that prime example of just like us, like our insecurity is what we're doing. You know, like I'm afraid people are judging me because I'm judging them.
Yeah.
So I think that's a.
I don't want to do karaoke because I make.
Because she makes fun of people who do karaoke.
In that way, it's like a good gauge, though, kind of, right? Like, I think like when you notice that you're judging somebody, that's a good way to check in with yourself. It's like, oh, maybe I just like came up against something in myself that I would like to work on, and like maybe I don't have a problem with this person. Maybe I got a problem with myself.
Yeah.
Or something you learned to dislike because of a past experience. Like, I had a coworker that called me buddy, and I was like, fuck you, dude.
I'm not your buddy, guy.
And then his girlfriend also worked there, and I was like, hey, what's his deal? Like, why does he always call me buddy? And she was like, he calls everybody.
He calls me buddy in bed.
I thought you were going to say she calls in bed.
He calls her buddy. I think that was girlfriend.
Buddy too, and I was like, they fucking hate you.
Oh, yeah. If she called me buddy, I'd be like, I quit. You guys,
well, it's like,
buddies. I think you're making that up, buddy.
I've done that before where people call me brother, you know? And ooh, see how quiet I got? Yeah.
I mean, was it a white person?
Yeah, it was a white person.
It was a white person trying to be cool.
You're allowed to not like that.
Yeah. But at the same time, I literally watched him walk up to somebody and be like, you know, what's up, brother? You know, because that's his voice, obviously.
He was a wrestler?
Yeah. You know Hulk Hogan?
Wait, are you just humble bragging?
I was hanging out with Hulk Hogan.
Jeez, hey, way to bring it up.
Yeah. And I was like, you call me brother too? Jesus.
It's getting old, really.
Yeah, exactly. Back in my day.
Hey, brother.
Mr. Hogan, Hulk, if you will.
Yeah. We were on a first name basis. It's pretty sweet. Me and Mr. Hogan. That's not a first name basis.
Mr. Hogan,
Okay, alright. Well, this has been the Smoke Break. I appreciate you guys so much for coming out. Did you have a good time? It genuinely means a lot. Shout out to the Haymaker. Thank you for having us.
Give it up.
Appreciate you so much. Make sure to tip them, give them lots of money, and if you don't give them that money, give it to the Little Sisters Foundation. Yes, please make sure that you donate to them. You can go to little-sisters.org and go ahead and make a donation and learn a little bit about them. Other than that, that's been the Smoke Break the Session, and we have merch, which I you reminded of that. You remember it. We did it. Zoe helped. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
I hope so.